Hello and welcome back to another casted game on the Age of Bison YouTube channel. I'm sure you're familiar with my voice at this point. I'm SerSharkDad, and I'm joined here with Platypus Slayer as your usual combination for our 1v1 tournament, covering it in the Age of Sunbros Discord. So, exciting match that we have here with Vindian, who has been a very frequent player in a lot of our matches and tournaments and casted games here, going with Japan. And then looking over to the other side, we have McCleves playing Ethiopia, kind of an off pick for him. He's not necessarily known for Ethiopia, but I'm sure he's going to play it with the same sort of fervor and ferocity that we've seen his house to play at. He's a very skilled player, and we are on the beautiful map of Hokkaido. Platt, you want to go ahead and lend your thoughts and critiques for this matchup as well as this map?
Well, this should be very interesting. First off, Vindian is not a standard player, so you can't really bank on standard Japan things. That being said, this is a wonderful map for Japan because it has the water at the bottom. It's got a trade line. The natives on it synergize with existing shipments that Japan has, which of course Vindian loves his outlaws and his natives. So Vindian's got quite the playground here on this map. On the right here for Ethiopia, super flexible civ. McCleves tends to prefer timing attacks or super booms himself. Very solid player, tends to kind of stick to the fundamentals of a civ. So I think it's going to be a match of can Vindian knock McCleves kind of off his game, off his preferred strategies, and can McCleves, get to his win condition and push the game through.
Amazing clearing going on here with the with McCleves' Explorer. Let's go ahead and take a look at the deck starting off the Ethiopia side. We saw that I believe Vindian was setting in. He was doing something with the console. I think he chose Portugal.
Yep.
And so, but taking over at McCleves, he's got Furrier coming in, which is going to give a nice boost in age 1 for the gathering. Coffee berries. So 2 food cards here. If Tenyas can be Commerce Age, that sounds pretty nasty, not going to lie. Desert Archers, that's pretty nice. It's got a nice little combination of, and once again, another berry card here in age 2. Okay.
Well, that's very similar to Spice Trade. It's like a toned down Spice Trade.
Oh, okay. But I'm just
with
thinking,
some switch offs for mills later on. But yeah, I don't think Hokkaido is necessarily a berry map. Could you look around real fast, see if I'm wrong? There's some in the middle, right?
Right here.
Oh.
Little shrine there now, but plenty.
Vindian's got one solid.
Yeah, we got
okay, so oh wow. Okay, so there's a good deal of berries here. If McCleves can take that center part, he can actually, even building age 2 skirms, that would be absolutely deadly into Japan, I believe.
Yeah, he's even stacking in an age 3 here. So, and just plenty of the standard, I think, cards. More Neftenya, you got Showtells, just the additional cattle cards. So pretty balanced deck all around. Somali allies, I haven't really seen this card too much, but I guess that's just a preference of what you want. So yeah, it's berry centered, very interesting, and now going up with the Jesuits. So let's go ahead and take a look at Vindian so that way we're not missing too much. Toshogu Shrine, pretty standard here, and then Heavenly Kami. So more of that boom. So let's take a look. Trading posts. Little defense there. Okay, interesting. Just in case, I guess, because Ethiopia does have a deadly rush, so it's good to have that card in. Consulate armies. And honestly, nothing ever stands out as crazy with Japan. Usually you see a lot of variance here at the top. This is probably where it gets most crazy, but down here it's not too much. Native warriors.
Japan's a civ that, well, yeah, native warriors again. Vindian loves his natives, and if you go all the way to that, what's that merc shipment? Well, it's not really a merc shipment, it's actually natives. In his deck, age 4 on the full right.
Sohi.
Yep. Okay. It's the Sohi natives, which I believe is the native near Vindian. If you look at the top, the native post.
Let me just click over there.
Yep. There it is.
Nice. Okay. Interesting.
So.
Yeah, plenty of H2 option, lots of resource, and not too much H3, but enough, right? And it obviously seems very boom-centered. You got options for water here, mostly fishing boats, though, and then natives. So 2 different strategies going to be employed here, I think, that are very not necessarily off-meta, but not standard either.
Agreed. I would say, well, both these players are a little bit new. So, like, not new, but new strategies, right? So this should be interesting. McCleves actually just pointed out to me now that all the berry gathering boost cards affects the gold rate when it converts over. So he should be getting quite the boost from those berries once he sends coffee berries in.
Oh, I see. Because coffee berries, where are they at? Is it up here? Yeah.
Yes.
Instead of food. Okay, so then, so really it's a coin build. Interesting. Okay. All right, I'm really wondering how this is going to work out. I'm kind of excited. Let's go ahead and take off this. Let's put on the fog of war so we can see what they see. Going ahead and looking over at Vindian, 3 fishing boats. I believe that was from, no, not from the card actually. So he ended up making those.
No, that's the Age 1 card. That's what Japan's kind of famous for. Because it only gets 2 villager shipment twice, so they tend to substitute it with the boats.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. Because
being the closest thing that they have to a 3-bill shipment.
Some Ashigaru coming out right now. And I wonder how the Ashies are going to trade with Gaskenya, but instead, McCleves has opted for Show Tell, and 11 of them. So it looks like he's going to try to get a raid. But the problem with Hokkaido is this thing right here. So you really only have 2 avenues of approach, one from the north and one from the middle. And then he's got shrines all over, so that's going to give him some nice line of sight. That's going to prevent a lot of the raiding. But here we go. We got the Show Tells now coming in. Let's see. He's not going to grab any of the vills, and it looks like he's just going to go ahead and dip on out of there. Very smart move on McCleves' part to not overcommit, losing 2 Show Tell, unfortunately, after seeing that Ashi pop, and only idling Vindian just ever so slightly.
Yeah, good job on Vindian. He got his vills out of the fight. He had a batch of Ashigaru just in the nick of time in order to chase off those Show Tells. So both players playing really clean so far. No real throws or mistakes, and it seems like both of them are trying to figure out how to get to that win condition. Native post. I would assume McCleves is going to try to take this down. Again, Vindian is known for his native, play, and that has given him experience and, this kind of pike option in the Sohai Naginata.
Yeah, it's so difficult because with Japan, like you want to take down the shrines, you want to put pressure on, but at the same time, it feels like they're just such a ticking time bomb, and you want to have to knock them out in one good thrust. Because even when you start putting the pressure on, Japan is still able to kind of start to boom pretty easily and then get the H2 going, and eventually you're just totally outmatched in the late game. So I'm wondering what McCleves is thinking here. Obviously, he wants to take this out. Very smart on him to do some really solid exploring on his part with his chief or his hero, and he's going to go ahead and take this down, which is going to prevent any sort of like nasty native allies coming out. And doing some good raiding on McCleves, but it looks like we have some pushing here in the center. So he had sent Yumi archers in a card, and then he's got a couple of Ashigaru, but it looks like McCleves is once again tit for tat. I think this is so great. Look at McCleves, just the one unit just to poke and prod, and then he sees that is still going up, and he's going to go ahead and try to get that. He's going to go ahead and start pushing this, and it's still going to go up though, and it's just smart for McCleves to anticipate. He's got Gaskenya now coming in, and he's got the I guess semi fort, in which
the halfway point. I mean, it's an H2 fort with less stats in essence, with all the abilities that it has. But and those Show Tells, are they going to get a connect on? Nope. Okay.
Unfortunately not. So both players just showing off their skill, honestly, just kind of very quickly and anticipating and responding to whatever is going on.
Take Fog of War off real fast.
Sure.
Yeah, so that's okay. So yeah, it looks like Vindian, he is going to be booming on water a bit as well. And, again, Ethiopia has a very powerful economy. As time has gone on, people are discovering the power of Abins. Again, if McCleves can take the center, he'll have the coffee berries, boosting his economy. But I mean, Japan's eco is Japan's eco. I mean, very few things in this game can roll with a shrine boom. So, and so far, Vindian, he's got shrines all over the map. What pop is Vindian at right now?
Yeah, I was just about to point out that Vindian is currently at 40, considering that he has the fishing boats, which he has 13 of them, which is a very sizable amount at this point in the game, and then McCleves with 20. Obviously, he does have the cows, but that only goes you so far, and 20 vills is, he's going to be lacking behind the Vindian boom. But McCleves and Vindian have played each other quite a bit, and I think he's going to be fully aware of the fact that Vindian is going to opt for economic play in any time that he is on the field, so to speak. And then look at this again. That's kind of an interesting change that we saw in the previous patch, where as long as you just kind of have the socket, right, you can just go ahead and click the 100 wood and 100 food, and then there you go, you claimed the native sites in order to encourage more native play. But then what ends up happening is that these two explorers are not really committed to being there. Instead, they can just freely build shrines. So kind of a roundabout sort of buff to Japan in that, but McCleves is still on top of this and making sure that he keeps that maintained and contains the shrines.
Oh, it looks like we got a big push from Vindian here, and this is always kind of scary, right? On the map, Hokkaido is, like you said, because of the central mountain feature, it's really easy to get cut off, which is kind of what we're seeing right now. So, Vindian is trying to poke around, but for the most part, he's just taking shots, and he's going to have to try to either force a fight or, push McCleves off something. If not, he's just basically giving away, XP to McCleves by killing his units.
Right. And it looks like he did send, Portugal consulate, so he's got some of those consulate units out on the field, but McCleves is just biding his time at this point just because he does have the Sudanese age 3 coming in, so he doesn't really feel the need to do much here, and it looks like Vindian is just going to be dedicated to massing an age 2, so it was very smart on McCleves' part to go ahead and get that age up in and get that tech advantage, because he knows that Vindian, and you can tell the score difference, slight 2k score lead here, so that means that's just going to be a lot more units on the field. And on Vindian's part, we have 25 Ashi, which is quite a bit, 5 Naginata, and still just the 5 Yumi, but he does have the crossbowmen in that composition as well. So, still sieging down that shrine, these Geskenya, just ever so surely, just kind of trying to take down the eco of Vindy, but he's kind of been unwilling to deploy the Shotel. He is using the healing mechanic, which is smart on his part, maintain that army mass. Even more Shotel now coming in.
And it looks like Vindian, he's starting to wall off, so we might be setting in for quite a bit of a long game because, Vindian, again, he loves to boom, he loves to go to age 4, and he loves to ship very powerful shipments. So with him walling off the center there, this might end up into quite the slugfest between these two players.
Absolutely. And it looks, the thing is that Japan wants the game to extend. That is the play, right? So for Vindian, okay, cool. So I stayed age 2. I'm booming. I'm now at 46, which is very healthy, now going Golden Pavilion. Whereas for McCleves, he still knows he's on that timer. So he needs to try to find that win condition in that economic play that he has, in which, I don't know exactly how it's going to work out up against Japan's economy, especially because in Hokkaido, it's so hard to really gain any sort of map control considering these features. You're on very tight lanes of control, and it requires, in my opinion, just, it forces the players to really conflict with each other, and it's much easier for Japan just because they have these shrines that give them that line of sight.
Correct. And again, Ethiopia, he does have a few more villagers probably in the Avens. Avens currently are not counted as villagers in the counts, but nonetheless, again, Japan's on water, Japan's shrining, Japan has a very, powerful boom to begin with as they get their marketechs. They go up. I did like, the ability of Ethiopia there to get the trade route. I think probably either get influence or just general stagecoach, but do not want to get caught by those Ashigaru and those not. Yep. Wisely decides to kind of pull back a bit.
Right. But he knows that he's sieging this down. There's no way he doesn't know this. He knows he saw the Shotel, so he doesn't really exactly know how much else there is, but that's a lot of Ashy, and McCleves needs to start thinking about perhaps, some Neftenia coming in, which will do very nicely into that composition on Vindian's part. So he needs to win militarily here. He needs to wipe out the mass and kind of make Vindian fall behind a little bit. Maybe even going after this water here, because he sees the boats in the deck. I don't know if McCleves has any. No boats in play, but that doesn't mean he can't make a dock.
Exactly, and that's something to always remember too against Japan, because often they don't actually have a dock, right? They'll only send consulate units. Mm-hmm. You can sometimes, shut down that water boom really effectively with the 2 caravel or equivalent shipment. So I don't know, McCleves, he's definitely in a tough spot right now. Again, he's starting to get outscaled, and Japan, it's a steamroller. It's a little slow to get going, but once its economy is fully boomed, the combination of superior units, superior economy, and Japan's kind of famous ability to do tricks, like with the daimyos and the shoguns and the consulates. This may be a really tough fight. So Cleves is going to have to take a fight, and he's going to have to win very convincingly, I think, to stay in this game.
I'm wondering, that's kind of my big question, right? It's how is he going to be able to just force the fight? And I don't know if necessarily taking on the walls is the way to do it. It seems like there was a lot of contesting for map control here in the north, and he was able to clear out some of Indian shrines, but I don't know, just go ahead and go and try to see if you can force a fight by taking down the trade posts and the shrines, because Now we have good faith agreements now coming in, so even more consulate power and even more Yumi, even more. He's going archers. Yeah, that makes sense. Shotel warriors. At McCleves' side, I mean, more Shotel and more Neftenya, so a sort of Hussar skirm combo. But this is a pretty deadly mass that McCleves has going on here, and it looks like he's starting to get on top of the economy here. So he's going to get one of those settlers, and he needs to find a way. I mean, with the Gaskenya here in the composition, along with some of the dervishes, it looks like he should be able to shove off those Nagi, and they're looking like they're trading blows right here. It's getting kind of exciting. Here we go. Naginata trying to get on here on the side, but they're not going to be able to do much. Shotel are just in two great masses. Can the Neftenya do it? Can they carry this?
You know, so far it's looking really good. Really good micro from McCleves. His units are where they need to be, but see, there's the thing about Ashies, those they're fast, right? And those Shotels, those Shotels.
No. Okay, so Shotel got on top of the Ashigaru. More Shotel now getting on top of here on the side. Looks like the Naginata are going to get cleaned up. Neftenya still up. Shotel still pushing. Now they're on top of the Uni after having forced themselves through the Naginata composition, and they should clean that, except some more flaming arrows here on the backside. So I don't know. This may end up just being a sort of like call it quits on the push, just because if those flaming arrows get up, they will absolutely tear apart the skirmisher composition. But very good fight on McCleves' part.
But, you know, I think it's the kind of a pirate victory, right? Because, again, let's see what these flaming arrows do.
Can they do enough damage? Flaming arrows look like weird. Ooh, okay, one going down. Can they get the second one? No, they're just going to go ahead and back that out, I think. Good kiting on his part. And then on Vindian,
very good kiting.
Yeah, very good kiting. Some idle eco here going on just because so much happening in that front fight. He does have a little bit of a more mass here. Oh, those Neftenya are just absolutely nasty. And then Vindian's economy now 57 Vils, going to have even more Yumi now pumping in. So maybe the weight of Japan's eco is going to be a little bit too much here in terms of these exchanges. But very, very good fight on McCleves' part. And also just Vindian for able to just kind of stay calm and pull that out. And those flaming arrows just kind of coming in clutch there towards the end. But maybe if you can get some cannons, I think, with the influence coming in, maybe.
That's a possibility. I think, though, McCleves, he's got to end it fast because, you know, the stagecoach now for Japan, I mean, Japan's eco right now is absolutely bonkers. And even though both these players, I'd say McCleves fought a little bit cleaner in that fight, you know, Vindian's macro has been a lot more efficient, right? So Vindian doesn't have to win these, like, staggering fights, which at this point, I think McCleves, you know, again, look at the score. I mean, you wouldn't guess that by the kill-death ratio that last fight, but Vindian's just going to keep booming, keep surging, right? So, again, McCleves, he's got to take another fight now, and he's got to take another big win.
Looks like he's going to be understanding that as he's now poking and prodding here at the composition of Vindian, trying to snipe some of those Nagi. He's got a granary coming in the center, but I was kind of looking over, and it looks like a town center is now coming down here, so that's going to solidify even a harder boom. Bank wagon coming in, church wagon coming in. So, I mean, he is absolutely all about the economic play in this game. And then on McCleves' part, even more shipments of units coming in. So Shotel, which kind of were the star of that last fight, I would say, now doubling down, getting more of those Shotel, more Somali allies, or sorry, not more, but 14 Somali allies coming in terms of a delivery and an additional Raz and the Tenya attack improvement. So maybe he should be waiting. I know we want to. Ooh, just now, that castle just now coming down, one settler going down. Maybe he wants to wait for those cards to come in. However, he probably needs that boost. But
if you look at Vindian, though, look, he's pure greed right now, right? So this is actually the perfect time to pressure. Of course, you know, McCleves doesn't have full map vision, but he's got the right idea because, again, Vindian's invested so much into his economy that his army isn't necessarily the strongest. You know, and Vindian, he knows that. You know, good on him. He recognizes it. He backs off. He's basically like, look, I'm not the one on a timer here. You are. So I'm just going to back up, mass a bit, maybe poke around and skirmish, and just wait for my superior eco to be the deciding factor here. Because again, that army of Ethiopia is not one that you want to contend with right now if you're Japan.
Very strong. Yeah, exactly. These Somali warriors are pretty nasty. You wouldn't think it, but they have the kind of like, they're kind of like Iskenya, I would say.
Yeah.
And, but also kind of like dervishes. So they're pretty interesting. Not dervishes in the sense that they do melee damage, but I know that they counter cavalry.
Goon.
Or
Yeah,
they're
all
basically a
cavalry.
goon. Yeah, exactly. So looking over, McCleves now has that. Yeah, these guys are nasty. Niftenya are so
Beefy.
gross. Yeah, they're gross. H4 now coming in, so now is the time to win it. So, and obviously McCleves doesn't know it, but that's a resource sink, so he's not going to be able to replace the army too easily, just because he did a lot of investment in flaming arrows, a lot of investment in that age up. But he needs to win because he knows that those H4 upgrades are now going to be coming in. Flaming Arrow still trying to go to work here. I think he only has one.
Those flaming arrows that are going to do work against how tightly packed those Neftenya are. And again, Vindian tries to flank. McCleves is right on top of him. I mean, again, this is a great fight for McCleves. He's not losing any battles, but again, I kind of not doubt, but I fear that he would not be able to finish this off. And I think Vindian's got the safer play here. All he has to do is hold this push, and I would say it's decidingly in his favor.
Well, now Shotel finally getting on top of that flaming arrow after he kind of refused to use the Neftenya to attack it. I think he didn't want to waste any of those volleys. Very smart in terms of his micro. Shotel still just going to work, but they're getting... mass is kind of thinned out quite a bit, and I believe that's... Yeah, Sentry now being called in. See if the Shotel can get on top. Oh, and that age up now coming in, and... Oh, no. Yeah, so he's going to try to get that Daimyo because those guys are also just completely nasty, but, because they can just go ahead and spawn troops wherever. And this push is still trying to come in. Some villagers going down, and he's still dedicated to this. These Neftenya are doing absolute work, but I guess the Shotel were not able to clean that Yumi mass.
They weren't, and now, again, even though the army's super powerful for McCleves, I mean, he's underneath the town center. There's flaming arrows popping out of everything. Again, I think he's going to lose this battle, and once he loses this battle, ooh,
Shotel now flanking here. But he does have the disciplined Yabusami archers that are going to be here. One flaming arrow going down. Yabusami are, and more Shotels just being added into it. Oh, this is now a knockdown, drag-out fight. McCleves is fighting very, very hard to try to clean this up. And he simply just cannot. And I believe the Shogun, we ended up missing it. The Daimyo ended up spawning some Naginata riders. And that's going to be calling it off. I mean, he cannot really do much into that with his Neftenya.
There's too much Naginatas. So I think at this point, it's Vindian's game to lose. McCleves, he's played very clean. He's played a solid game, but... at the end of the day, do we have a raid up north, by the way? Oh, no, just,
some villagers poking around, yeah, and then he now sees that he's basically claimed this part of the map.
Correct, so this is a tough spot. Like I said, if you're McCleves, you basically have to either get greedy or you have to do a Hail Mary, push, and I think that's what we're about to see here in a second, is a Hail Mary, just to try to finish this game before the Age 4 economy of Vindian just takes off, because, again, he's almost fully shrine popped. He's got 65 bills, He's got map control. He's got the age ups coming in. He's in a great spot. So,
yeah.
Again, if you're Vindian, you're feeling pretty confident right now. And if you're McCleves, you got to be sweating hard, because this is a tough spot to be in when you're this behind. Even though you're not necessarily throwing it, you just know your strategy is just not optimizing. So, you either have to switch it up or just double down and hope it works.
Yeah. This is an interesting strategy, though, I have to admit. That, I mean, this is a lot on coin. That's a huge coin rate, and then putting it right next to the granary, in addition to the cards, it is very interesting, this kind of very coin-centric build. And I don't know if he's going to need to re-macro, if he's just going to sell off coin for food. I don't know exactly what he needs, but it is pretty interesting. But it just can't keep up with this, especially like the Age 4 economy, now 71 versus 53. That's not saying McCleves hasn't been on top of his economy, just to say that, I mean, it's so hard to contest with Japan this late into the game.
Mm-hmm.
So now just a couple flaming arrows in there, and mostly just tons of Nagi. And the problem as well is that he has a Daimyo that he can just go ahead and spawn out of. He doesn't necessarily, look at this now, three TCs here, and he could put that Daimyo anywhere and just keep popping out units into the fight, just because his eco's not going to be touched. Flaming Arrows now going ahead and getting on the front line, going to work, just killing those Neftenya. Naginata immediately body blocking those Shotel. And, I mean, I don't think McCleves is going to be able to do anything here. Nagi,
I think with all the the daimyo buffs, flaming arrows, and the shotels. They're solid units. They're often underutilized and appreciated, but
Yeah, this is a huge
they
cleaner.
can't go against Nagi's. Yeah.
Yep. And even more Nagi now coming in on the side that will just, yep, and the GG not being
Yep.
called. Oof.
Damn. Good game though, man. That was cool. So, again, Vindian kind of famous for his Vindy booms. I think we got to see what happens when you leave Vindy alone perfectly there, right? McCleves had a really good strategy with the berries. I don't know all the mathematics off the top of my head, but look at that coin income right there off 35 bills.
Right. Yeah, massive.
That's impressive. So I think he had a really good idea, but basically he ended up playing into a game that Vindian loves, and that's called, treaty mode, right? If you let Vindian boom, he will boom an absolutely epic amount. And he boomed on water, he boomed on land, he took the stagecoach. Vindian felt very comfortable. And their micro, really on point. McCleves, fantastic battles, constantly microing stuff back and forth, showed why he's such a strong player and he's gotten to this position. And I think in the end of the day, it's what makes Age of Empires 3 sometimes so exciting is you have different philosophies or different strategies, and it's a battle of wills and it's a battle of philosophies. And I think Vindian proved that in this game on this map, his boom was definitely the more secure philosophy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, both of them went into the game with a certain mindset, and they kind of like basically left it on the map and just kind of let it decide itself in the sense of play your heart out. Both of these players play really, really well and play to the strengths of your build and see what comes out of it. Let's go ahead and take a look at the post game. I mean, you could just see. I mean, it's just a massive resource difference, and those resources are just going to be put right into military units, and you just can't keep pace, especially with those units now being an age up on you now. But kudos to McCleves having more military units, so obviously being efficient with this economy, but just kind of hard to contain that boom. Look how many improvements Vindian was able to put down. Wow. Massive villager count difference. I don't know if he made any more boats because last time I checked it was 13. Yeah, he maintains just 13 fishing boats. So McCleves had it, like you said, it was a decent win, but it wasn't a convincing enough win in order to really win it out. And this is and then here's the issue, right? Is that you have this massive spike in military units going over 80 and then not really producing the amount of casualties that you need to absolutely kill him, and in that next fight, and yet still going down to about where he's at. So by the time you mass again, you're going to be outpaced again. So
truly, like I said, McCleves, in the spirit of old commanders like Pyrrhus, of Epirus, right? Like, you won every battle and you lost the war. Mm-hmm. And I think that is ultimately, like I said, Vindian had a little bit more of a stable economy. He boomed a bit. He took a bit of a risk, and he was able to delay in the crucial moments both of those fights. So, good job to Vindian. I think again, really showcasing how his map knowledge and civ knowledge, right, can help produce, overcome perhaps McCleves a bit cleaner micro. Although again, both players microed very well. I didn't see any massive throws or out of position stuff throughout most of that fight. So. Kudos, like I said, to both players, very strong, and this is the best of 16 round. Is that correct?
It is, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or before, either way, both these players, I believe, go in. So, good job to both of them.
Yeah, fantastic game. I just want to say a quick thank you to both of these players to allowing us to cast over their game and lend our thoughts and our critiques. I think both of you are just fantastic players and have done an amazing job. And in that spirit of thankfulness, I wanted to thank each of you as our audience members for watching our gameplay. If you like what we do and you like our content, go ahead and please leave a like, comment on what you thought about this game, and hit that subscription button. We are getting pretty close to the 500 mark, and for not a large game and not a large community, that means a lot to us, and we really appreciate you guys' support. Thank you so much, and we will see you in the next one.